Hello guys and welcome back to my channel Pavel again. Today I'm going to walk you through security policy basics. As you can see on my screen, I have logged into the checkpoint firewall demo mode, and this is how it looks when you log into the smart console smart dashboard. So if you see right now I'm at the gateway and status, sorry, gateway and servers tab. The security policies reside beneath that, which is here. So when you click to that, you'll be presented with the security policies whatsoever you have configured. So each and every field here, they have a different names. Right now, this area, let me point it out for you. This area where we set up the rules, rules, this area, togetherly we call it as the rule base. So here you will define your rules, give the definition of the rules and everything. This is we call as the rule base. Okay, let me clear the screen. Now, before creating the rule, you should know how we can create the network objects, network services, applications, VPN communities, and everything. So if you look at your right side here, you will see there is a object category, right? Here, if you see, it's mentioned there are network object, network services, application categories, VPN communities, data types, user identities, servers, and so on. From here, you can able to curate your network objects, gateway objects, whatsoever you wanted to do. For example, if I just right click to this network object, it gives me a list of the options, what you need to create, what you need to have, right? For example, if I wanted to create a host object, I can just create a host object, and here you can do that. And you define the whatever the details. This area we call it as the managing object area, but this is not the actual the things like object management. This is the shortcut what checkpoint given on a console. But actually, if you go to objects, if you see upper top here, there's something called objects. If you go there and if you click that tree, at the last option, you will see there's something called Object Explorer. This guy. And if you click that, Here you will find different objects, or you actually able to search in a reliable way, like whatever the object you wanted to search with the IP address, with the name, and so on. And this area we refer as the object areas. So here if you see there is a lot of categories of the object you have, and just to click on these areas you will get the relevant details. And from here you can create, delete whatever you want to do with the object. So this is the list of the things you have, right? Let me clear the screen. Now talking to the rule based plane, we see there are different rules here, right? If you come to the rule base area, too many rules available. First, we will see the basic concepts, how you can create the rule base, how you can add the rule, delete the rule, disable the rule, hide the rule, right? Etc. What is the default rule? And then we'll talk about the basics like what is implicit, explicit rules, what is cleanup rule, what is stealth rule, right? Let's look, let's just understand the future here. So this is the area, it's like a toolbar to use. It's something very useful when you talk about creating the rules. For example, if you want to create a new rule, there are multiple options. Like you just come and just create the rules, or you can use your shortcuts. For example, if I want to have a rule here, what I will do, I just click the right click and I will tell him where I want this rule to be placed, above, below. So the rule number 2, which you are seeing here, it will ask you want to create a rule above to that rule or below that rule. For example, I'm just creating a rule below to that. So as you can see, the new rule is created. I'm just pointing it out as a new rule. Here you can give the name of the rule. What is the rule name? What is stand for? Add name under the name field. Then you can give what is the source for this rule. What are the source IP address source objects? So you can specify source here. Then you can specify the destination where that source wanted to go. If you have a VPN established, you can give the VPN community here. Then there is a managed services. This is the new tab added. So we'll talk on this tab later. But if you want to see what are the things available, you just go ahead and just click to that arrow and it gives you whatsoever configuration you want to configure. I just picked to the default and it landed me to this page. We'll talk on this because this is the advanced feature about comma. So right now this feature is not much in use. So we'll talk on it later. Next is your, let me clear the screen. Next This is also the new feature added, like a content. So we'll talk on this later, how we can utilize this thing, because this is related to the different blades activation. That's why we are not discussing here. We are talking about the basics of the rule. And then there is something called action. So here you can define, you want to accept that packet, you want to drop that packet, whether you want to ask to the user, sending the company's policies, inform, and this is the important thing, the inline layers. So if you want to have different rules within a one rule, you can use these layer features. We'll talk on the inline layer feature later when we actually create the lab for some purpose. But basically, it's a kind of layer structure where you have one rule as a, you can call it as a major rule, and matching that rule, you'll be having the sub rules. So once the rule match, the major rule match, the sub rules will match, like that kind of thing. It's a layer. Then, whether you want to track that, you want to log, alert, and the rest of the options what you need to perform. And the last thing, the policy. So here you will specify where you need to install these policies. In organization, you will be having a multiple gateways. So whichever gateway you want to have this policy to be installed, this is your friend. So this is how you can add a rule. If you want to delete this particular rule, you just have to click right click to it and say delete. The rule will get deleted. If you want to hide this rule, you can use disable feature here, and the rule will get disabled. So disable a rule when testing a security policies. Disabling a rule can also allow access to previously restricted source or destination. That is one of the important point. So if you disable this rule and you are like, okay, I want to do the testing and I want to disable this rule, but keep in mind, if you disable particular rule, the whatever the rules before this rule will take place or get a preference, right? Then rest of the things are like rule expirations, copy rule ID, copy as image. These are the advanced feature we'll talk later. This is the important thing. It counts. So if you want the the how many hits happen to this rule, or the you want to track the number of the connection each rule matches on this gateway, you can enable this feature, right? What you want to have, value, uh, time frame, whatever data you want to give, you just have to specify likewise, okay, whatever for this particular rule, and you will see the hit count, right? So this is how you can create, delete, and disable rule, which is one of the important thing. For example, I'm just clear now deleting this rule. So you just come here and say delete, right? And see here, if you click this, if you don't want to use the shortcuts, these are the your friends for creating rules. So this is the above the rule and below the rule, as we just explained. Okay. So you just have to come and click that, and it will accordingly create the rules above and below. And if you want to delete it, you can use this cross arrow here. Okay, let me clear the screen. Now let's talk about the two important rules which generally we get a question during the interview. Number one, what is stealth rule? So this guy, I have another video where I have explained, in deeper way what is a stealth rule, what is its purpose and everything. But for now, I just wanted you to give you some heads up. What is the style tool? Okay, let me clear the screen. So we're talking about the style tool here. Uh, so style tool is to prevent any users from connecting directly to the gateway. It add a style tool a lot of benefits like protecting the gateway in the manner which makes gateway transparent to the network. The gateway becomes invisible to the user on the network. So if you look at the rule here, how it is, the source is any, but the destination is your gateway. So anyone in the world if is trying to hit to your gateway, see this is a catch. This is the gateway, not the other rest of the object. Anyone except these guys, admin guys, if you see here, because the admin set to access rule is above to the stealth rule. What that means? This rule will take a first preference, and after that, this rule will take preference. So this is the second part. So what it says here at the admin set to access rules, anyone like admin, not anyone. Admins, if they are trying to access this gateway, allow them with the whatever services uh, we have, whatever the services we have in place, like that. If you see whatever services we have in place, but what's Stealth rule saying? Anyone except the above rule, which allowing the admin, anyone other than that is accessing corporate gateway. Okay, then you simply deny that. If you see there is a drop, yeah, simply deny that request. So this is your stealth rule. And now let's talk about the uh, cleanup rule. So cleanup rule, we also call it as a rule for the monitoring. So the last rule usually we have is a cleanup rule. The security gateway follows the principle that which is not express permitted is prohibited. Which is not expressly permitted is prohibited. This is what the security gateway thinks. So security gateway drops all communication attempts that do not match a rule. The rule only way to monitor this rule is used for monitoring the drop packets. The cleanup rule, also known as none of the above rule, which drops all communication not described by any other rule and allow you to specify logging for everything being dropped by this rule. So if you see the rule, how it looks, so source is any, destination any, services any, everything is any, but end of the day, you will see action is dropped. And the catch is here, it's logged in, right? So whatever the packets are getting dropped, we monitor with this log things. By default, when we have a new firewalls in place, we have a default rule. Everything looks same with the default rule, but only arrangement was not there for this logging the connection. It will like none here when we call as a default rule. So no traffic is get logged And that is the difference between the default rule and the cleanup rule. Now, let me clear the screen. Let's talk about the one important thing which we call as implied rule or explicit rule. Uh, sorry, implied rule or implicit rule. So if you come here and click this three bar, you will see these are the rules what we have. And if you come to the action, and if you see here, there is something called implied rule. If you click that, the implied rules will open. So the security gateway creates rule base by translating the security policy into a collection of individual rules. The security gateway creates implicit rules or implied rules derived from the global properties and explicit rules created by the administrator in the smart dashboard. So whatever the rules as explicitly you have created, what do you mean by explicitly created? The rules which you create as an administrator, the one we just saw an example how to create a rule. Those are the explicit rules. So those rules is plus the the global properties what we have set. All the chunk of it is inherited, and the rules which system creates its own, which we call as implicit or implied rule. An explicit rule is a rule that you create in the rule base. As I explained, explicit rules are displayed together with implicit rules in a correct sequence when you select to the view implied rules. So I just said view implied rules, and if you come down here, uh, let me scroll it a little bit down. Give me one second. Okay. If you scroll down, so ideally after these rules, the explicit rules take preference. If you also notice here, there is something called first rule. So your implied rules or implicit rules or implied rules are also called your first rules. That is what you can present on a screen. No doubt on that. Okay. As I said, these are the things what the implicit or implied rules. Implied rules also, have the control connections. The security gateway create a group of implicit rules that it places first, last, or before last in the explicit defined rule base. These first implicit rules are based on the accept control connection setting on the global properties windows. The gateway anticipate other possible connections related to the gateway communicating and creating implicit rule for those scenarios. So let's understand what is this basic terminology here only. We call it like, with the rule base, it's like your first rule, then before last rule, and the last one is your last rule. Okay, let's understand one by one. So what is first rule? So first rule, as the name suggests, it comes first, okay, in rule base. Whatsoever happen, this rule will hit first. So You can call it them as implicit or implied rule. Before last rule is the rule which comes before last rule in a rule base. So whenever you create any rule and those rule you want to call it before last rule. Why we call it like a before last rule? Because let me take this first. Let me close this guy. Okay. So whenever you create any rule, if you want to take care of your existing rules and you don't want those rule will take any effect before the rest of the rules, so you create a rule before last rule, so it will come before the cleanup rule. So rule here we call it like rule 14 is your before last rule. Okay. Why it is important? Because whatever the rules you have, it should not impact because of this rule. That's why we get it as a before last rule. And the last rule is is the rule which we always call cleanup rule. Okay, whatever the rule we do have at the last, that is called cleanup rule. Uh, So definition wise, I'll just explain you. First, first rule, this rule cannot be modified as it is implicit rule or implied rule. Moved or overwritten in a rule base. No rules can be placed before it because it's the first rule. Implied rules are processed before administrator explicitly defined rules. So first rule is your implied rule. Then explicit rules. These are the administrator defined rules which may be located before the first and the before the last rules. So this rule and the first rule in between whatever the rules we have, we call it them as an explicit rule, right? Last, this rule is enforced after the last rule. The cleanup rule in the rule base is the your last rule. And there is something called implicit drop rule. So implicit drop rule is nothing but the rule having no logins with it, right? Uh, so these are the basics of the rule base. What is the rule and everything. Now, one more important thing I wanted to, brief here, uh, which is uh, policy management packages. So let me write it here. Policy management packages. So, depending on the different organization, uh, we used to have the different policy packages for different network, different customers. You are, excuse me, working with the VSX. This is the the next concept, which is it comes with a CCSC course or the advanced course. So in during that, you need to have a different policy packages. So those policy packages are something we can create when you create a new policy package like this. If you click add here, if you see add button, let me show you. Okay, so let me show you here. If you see this add button, if you click to that here, you will see what are the policy packages you have installed already in. So if you click all, those are the different policy packages you have. And if you want to create a new policy package, if you want to create a new policy package, you can come here. I hope you can create from here. So view clone, this is what edit, open. If you click to open, I think the existing package will open. Okay, all right. So let me see from where we can create the policy package. Okay, from here we can create your new policy package, manage policies and layers, new object. Okay, new object type, different types you can open, object flow, policy package. Let me say manage policies and layers. These are the policies and layers. And if I want to create a new package, I'll just create this array. See, there is something here, this star kind of thing. If you click to that, you will create a new policy package, right? Uh, if you want to have the policy package for the access rule or custom set rules, whatever the rules you need, you can create from here, and accordingly you can, go ahead and do the rest of the things with this policy packages. Uh, Sorry for that. So I think for this video, I have given enough content related with the policy package, related with rule base and everything. I think one thing is remaining, which we call as the database revision control. So something called database revision control, right? Uh, Let me clear it. So database revision control gives the system administrator freedom to create fallback configuration when implementing a new objects and rule, or adjusting the rules and object as a network change. This can help the system administrator to test the new rule base and object configuration or relevant to an earlier configuration for troubleshooting. Considering these points when saying your policies, uh, now let me see how I can show you what is the database revision control. Uh, if This is the new architecture, so if you come to the manage and setting here, and there is something called sessions. Here are the different sessions which we have open, but if you see here, there is something called revision. Let me show you. So this tab, when you come to this manage and setting, then when you come to the sessions, and then there is something called revisions. So here you can edit whatever the work you have delivered with the policy rules or editing with this. You can view your changes. For example, if I delete that and if I say view, so it will launch the things in a read-only mode, and it will give you details like whatever the changes I have made as an administrator, or whosoever log into this gateway, what changes he made, and you can verify from here. So this is the advanced feature added, like a revisions uh, with the this R81.10 or the R80 onwards of Gaia versions. Here you have the actions where you can revert to this particular version. For example, if I have deleted this particular object and I wanted to go to that, you just revert to this revision versions. There is a lot of options like purge, changes, okay, like that. So basically, the database revision control we use when we did something wrong on our gateway by mistakenly, and we configure something wrong by mistakenly, and we want to back to the previous versions, you can use database revision control. So I think, guys, I hope this video you will found informative. So please like and subscribe my channel, and thanks for watching my video. Have a good day.